projects think about security only after the incident.
And nobody cared about security. Nobody, was minded about it. And then you started to see the hacks.
Who is still copy and pasting addresses from blockchain?
In 2023, we identified $1.7 billion lost due to hacks.
And more on-chain attacks, phishing attacks, and scammers do not sleep, you know. Hey guys, this is a Hacking Proof podcast, and today, as usual, with you, your host Alex, and our guest Michael Pearl, VP of Go-to-Market Strategy at Cyvers, podcast host, and a person with huge experience in Web3 security business. Nice to see you here, Michael. How are you today?
Thank you so much, Alex, for having me. I'm doing great. Thank you. Very happy to be here.
Let's start. And Could you tell us more about your background and previous experience? Because we will step back after about Cyvers and everything, but let's start from very beginning. How you came into Web3?
So I'm a crypto native. I've been in the crypto space since about 2012, 2013. Back in the days, I remember that crypto was mostly about Bitcoin, and it was mostly around you didn't have all the conferences, you didn't have the metaverse, you didn't have all the tokens and all the cool stuff. What you had is basically, I'm from Israel, right? So in Tel Aviv, you had a meetup with four geeks in a room trying to convince you to buy Bitcoin for like, I don't remember, like $100 or something like that, or maybe even less, and even giving you like paper wallets to start getting used to it.
just just to onboard you.
Exactly, and I'm so ashamed to say that I wasn't more convinced back then. Uh, I should have bought much more, but I caught the bug. I started learning, started reading about it, and then as I progressed in my career, I started getting closer and closer to Web3. And during the last 5 7 years, I was more involved in Web3, hands-on, working with crypto companies, as an executive, as an advisor. And basically, now I'm all in. I love the space, super innovative. Every time, like every day, you get some news, you get action. And that's the way I like it. And especially now when I'm, in the crypto Web3 cybersecurity space, it's action all around you.
Yeah, definitely. So basically, you've seen all the bull run cycles so far.
Yeah.
What was your cheapest Bitcoin which you bought?
Yeah, I guess around like $100, something like that. I sold
It's
some
pretty
later
good.
on. I should have been more disciplined. So
Of course, you sold. I don't know people who hold from 2013. You know, maybe only the people who forgot about zero and seed phrase or wallet or something because nobody can imagine that it will go so far. You know.
yeah, also, and it kind of segues us to the part about Cyvers. I don't know too many people that from 2013 until now didn't lose their money. Either through
Yeah.
hacks, scams, losing your keys and so on. So that's also a huge issue, and
Yeah.
it's very unfortunate.
That is why we are here, yeah, talking about cybersecurity, that just to educate more and more people because it's still a big issue. Even now, we have so many security auditors, a lot of big amount of infrastructure projects and solutions who help you to secure your assets, but still we see more and more on-chain attacks, phishing attacks, and scammers do not sleep, you know. Okay.
Exactly.
So now you are a VP of growth at Cyvers. Yeah. Could you tell us more about Cyvers? What is that? Just for listeners who didn't hear about it.
Cyvers is a leading Web3 cybersecurity company. Our services span from the more traditional cybersecurity, as in protecting assets, whether it's smart contracts or wallets. And actually, wallets is our forte and our unique value proposition. And we can talk about it in a second.
Hmm.
Working with DeFi projects, decentralized exchanges, institutionals, bridges, centralized exchanges, anything that you can imagine, we're helping them protecting their assets and their clients' assets as well. And we also have a more kind of a threat insight and assessment service that helps you to assess pre-transaction dangers. So, for instance, if you're interacting with a wallet or a smart contract, we can give you some insights into whether this wallet was involved in a hack,
Uh-huh.
or if the smart contract is a malicious smart contract. Because, just to give you a specific example, if you went on a website that looks exactly like Uniswap, and then you connect your wallet to it, and then you start interacting with it, and you're supposed to give an allowance, a permission to
Yeah.
that presumably Uniswap website or Uniswap smart contract to extract money from your MetaMask wallet. If we see that this is actually a phishing site and it's a malicious smart contract, we can notify you in real time. So there's a huge bevy of different attack vectors that we're covering, and always working on others that we still don't cover, because, as you said, hackers don't sleep and they keep getting more and more innovative, and we try to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay. Okay, let's stop on wallets a bit. I believe that is it some how does it work? So basically, I can integrate it as a browser extension, or what is that?
You
How
don't
does
have to integrate it as a browser extension. The way we work, first of all, the company is essentially a B2B company. So we work
yeah.
with companies, projects, and so on. Or if we work with end users, we do it through the company. So it's kind of a B2B to C.
Uh-huh.
So you can either just use our platform, either you can use the interface or you can do it through an API and give us all the wallets and the smart contracts that you have in terms of their addresses, and we will track them for you. And then we can also discuss how you want to mitigate these emergency situations when they happen. So you give us the wallet address, we start tracking it. Then if we see a hack that is taking place in real time, we can notify you, and then you can activate your own circuit breakers and your mitigation mechanisms. So
So
no integration, no, yeah, sorry to interrupt. No integration, no add-ons, no anything that you have to install and so on. We also don't touch your code, and we don't want to interfere with your system. All we need is your wallet address, and that's it. You're a client.
yeah, or contract address. Is it
Yeah,
correct?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, it's like a monitors for on-chain activities which happening with your wallet or smart contract. It's pretty nice, but okay, just curious. I didn't try it by on my own, to be honest, because I need to book a demo to have an account. So yeah, it's
I'll hook you up. No worries.
okay. Thank you. But is I- let's call it's incident detection mechanisms, yeah, but do you have any kind of protection mechanism? I mean, like, can I set up a rule to withdraw or transfer my assets in case if something is happening on chain with that wallet or contract?
Yeah, so there are a bunch of solutions for basically for mitigating an attack and response mechanisms. One of them, obviously the most common one, and the one that we see that our clients usually prefer, is the internal one, right? So you know
Mhm.
your system, you know your smart contracts, and you want to have control in case something bad happens into what you're doing with the funds. Whether you want to pause the transaction, pause the smart contract, maybe outrun the transaction, move all the money from one wallet to an emergency wallet.
Mhm.
Usually, our clients prefer to do it personally and internally. But if they want to outsource it, there are a bunch of different solutions. First of all, we're also working on solutions of our own that are going to be introduced soon. I cannot elaborate on that, but just to
Yeah,
give
it's
you a
okay.
hint. But
Alpha,
also we're
alpha.
yeah, yeah. But we're also working with a bunch of partners that are helping, for instance, to move funds from one wallet to another, to recover funds, and they're building the entire sequence of what is going to happen, who's going to have the authorization for that, because as you can imagine, it's very sensitive. So we're working with a bunch of third-party providers that are, they're bringing their clients, we're bringing our clients, and that way we're providing a more comprehensive suite of products to the users.
Mhm. Yeah, I see. Very interesting. So, but did you have any security background before joining the Cyvers team, or it's your first cybersecurity company?
From my end, I have zero cybersecurity background. Aside from being very interested in it and being the victim of several attacks. Actually, yeah, actually, the reason that I've joined Cyvers is because I think that it's doing something very, very important in the Web3 space, honestly. Because I think that this is one of the biggest problems that we have right now. And let's put it this way, my personal surrounding, my friends, my family, and so on, they're not crypto people. Alex, I can imagine that yours and Lika's are also not necessarily crypto people. And when you think about it, what can make these people join the revolution and start using crypto? First of all, obviously the ease of use, and that's something that you've mentioned, that that I've gone through almost all the cycles, all the ups and downs, and bear market and bull market. So you see that the services and the interface is becoming friendlier, and it's
Better and
becoming
better.
easier. Yeah, now you have tons of services that are kind of more of a Web 2 services, that all the Web 3 is in the background. You don't even have to know your wallet address.
Yeah,
But I think that yeah, I think that one of the things that are truly lacking right now, there is a progress, but we're not there yet, is the sense of security, right? So you have to provide the users with the sense of security that their money is safe. We can talk bad about banks all day long, but for the most of it, nobody goes to sleep worrying about their money being gone from the banking system. So I think that we need to get to that point in crypto as well, and that will help the masses to join the crypto revolution, and that will also bring the institutionals. And I believe that Cyvers is key to providing that sense of security, but also the security on the practical level. We have a huge mission ahead of us. Having all the companies joining. Just to give you a very specific example, in 2023 we identified $1.7 billion lost due to hacks. $1.7 billion. Let it sink.
it's
But
insane numbers.
insane. But what's even more interesting than that is the fact that 1.2 billion could have been saved if all those companies would work with Cyvers. It's like I see that every day. Whenever there's a hack, our SOC team goes into a war room mode,
Yeah,
and they're starting to work on helping the company. And oftentimes, if the company is not our client, there's only that much that we can do for them.
yeah,
So that's our mission, to make these 1.7 billion, which by the way in 2024 is going to be much higher. I can give you some numbers
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
make to
I
bring them
believe.
close to zero. Yeah.
Yeah, I will. But the main issue on the market right now is in on a security market. We discussed it several times on our previous series. The biggest issue, in my point, is that projects think about security only after the incident. This is the pain point because most of them think, okay, who cares about me? I don't need to spend as much money or my budget into security, but when something is happening, they damn, we should we should have this thing, you know, and it's a problem, but we trying to change that paradigm,
For sure,
change the
for
market
sure.
and make
I
that
got.
place
I
safer.
gotta tell you, you mentioned my perspective. So I remember when the crypto projects have only begun, and there was the ICO days. Basically, you know, founders were issuing white papers, and then a second later they were uploading, launching on the mainnet, with like one or two smart contracts, and that's it. And nobody cared about security. Nobody, was minded about it. And then you started to see the hacks, right? And then
Yeah,
everyone were shocked to read in the news, and the users obviously to find out that their funds were missing. And the awareness has gradually started coming into the system in a very painful way. So
yeah,
people started doing audits, and now everyone's doing audits, which is great. I have much respect. Some of our best partners are auditing companies, and definitely my advice to you is that you should perform an audit. But unfortunately it's not enough, right? So
of course.
the
Yeah,
industry is always like lagging behind and thinking that the solution that helped the previous cycle is going to help them in this cycle, but it doesn't work like that. You have to be preemptive.
yeah. I mean, like we are still early, when the internet came into our life, we got a marketplace where places where we can buy something online. There was also a lot of exploits, vulnerabilities, phishing attacks, and people started learning how to mitigate them. Yeah, we got 3ds for our bank accounts to pay something, not just by inserting some data on the random website and lose everything. So yeah, we evolving, but not fast, but we are trying,
Yeah, yeah. At the end
So
of the
yeah,
day, it's going to be ubiquitous. All the security services are going to be in the background. I'm sure that companies will start utilizing them. By the way, and we can also expand on that, I'm sure that the regulators will not stay silent for long when they see how much money is being erased and stolen by hacks and scams. At the end of the day, uh, right now the regulation focuses very much on the securities issue, on the commodities issue, and so on. That's what we hear in the news.
yeah,
But I think that the potential of investor money being evaporated or stolen is much higher when we're talking about cybersecurity perils rather than the more traditional investment perils.
yeah. I believe that this will be a next step after all these regulations about crypto itself. We will have more and more security standards, how to improve the ecosystem uh, in whole. Just because we need it if we want mass adoption. It's the only way, because yeah, as you mentioned before, you need to have a good user experience to onboard new people, and also you need to have a good end user security just to increase their attention. If they
Yeah.
will lose everything, they will never back to you. It was a big issue of bull run 2022. A lot of people lose almost all assets and money during that. It was the biggest year in terms of hack cases, in terms of asset stolen, in case of yeah. And after all this stuff, we got a bear market, and even people who still have had some assets, they also lose them. And now I believe that biggest portion of that people will never back into the crypto just because of that, because they lose money in a hack case, or just so big dump. And yeah, so
Yeah.
regulations really needed. Uh, to be honest, I read in your LinkedIn that you been a part of some government organization. Is it correct? Maybe you can
Which
give us.
one? Which
Uh,
organization?
Let me check it fast. I don't remember. Have you ever worked in government organization as an advisor?
Not for the government. Back in the days, I was an intern. I'm a lawyer, by the way, by
Ah,
trade.
okay.
So I did my internship with the government, with the DOJ, with the Department of Justice in Israel. But no,
Ah, okay, okay.
I'm a free economy guy. I like the free market, and as it is suitable for a crypto person.
Okay. How is everything with crypto in Israel? What do you think about current market state?
The market state in Israel.
Yeah, about crypto and regulation around how people involved in crypto, do they trust it or
So
and
Israel is an interesting place with respect to that, with many with many other facets as well. But with respect to crypto, there's a huge dissonance between the innovation and the technology coming out of Israel. I'm sure that you probably know quite a few companies, whether it's in the cybersecurity space or in the trading space. I mean, you all know eToro probably, Fireblocks, and a bunch of other, very reputable projects that sprung out of Israel. Some of them are already publicly traded or have set up shop in other countries as well. So tons of innovation, tons of technology, tons of talent that is coming out of here. The funny thing is that Israel is a very small place, so you can walk
yeah.
like in a square mile in Tel Aviv and have more Web3 startups than in Lisbon or some other
Yeah,
place.
definitely.
Yeah,
uh,
but there's a stark dissonance between that and the adoption because the regulation here is super stringent. The SEC is stringent, and the ISA, the Israeli Securities Authority, is 10 times more stringent. So you, as an Israeli, you don't have too many regulated exchanges that you can trade on. Obviously, if you do DeFi, you don't care, right? But with respect to having regulated exchanges here. There are not too many. So
mhm.
I would really wish that the adoption here would be bigger and more advanced. But it is what it is. We're good with technology, and I'm sure that the trading and the financial side will follow at some point.
Uh, do you have any? I mean, like, do you have any restriction to building a crypto business in the Israel itself? I mean, like, if you are going to start your launch or startup or something, is it fine to work with crypto? Because some of the companies accept payments in crypto, some of them not, and maybe you have some restriction which is not good for you for doing business in Israel itself.
So, if you have a technology company like ours, for instance, and you're in the crypto space, then
Hmm.
it's not a problem for you. The problem starts if you start, building some sort of a trading venue, and then you need the proper regulation for that.
Yeah,
I guess it's the same everywhere in the world, but in Israel, it's more stringent and it takes more time and more resources. Also, the biggest problem I think here is the banking system, and that's something that I hear from friends in Europe and elsewhere. But getting the crypto that you received, getting them into the bank as fiat, going through all the third-party providers is not an easy task. So that's why I think that nowadays, and by the way, that it has a very close proximity to what Cyvers is doing nowadays. Even the end user needs to be minded about compliance,
yeah,
right? Receiving money and interacting with people with crypto, you have to be minded about it. It's not the wild west as it used to be, because every token, not the token per se, but every transaction
can be
is flagged.
traced.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
can be traced, and eventually the chances of you getting dirty money without knowing it are very high. So I think that people should be very much aware of that aspect. That's, by the way, one of the reasons why we're working with quite a few wallets and custodians, helping them screening the transactions. Sometimes they're doing this in the background without the user even knowing, kind of safeguarding the user. In
hmm,
other cases, they're offering all the range of possibilities to the user, whitelisting, blacklisting, blocking transactions, refusing transactions. incoming, outgoing. So I think that that's the future. The future is going towards a much more compliant environment. It will be compliant in a voluntary way. Okay, I don't think that regulation has to be, the one that will be facilitating that. Companies can do it themselves because companies have an interest to have their clients compliant as well. So I think that that's where we're going, and I'm super excited to be part of that and to help,
Yeah.
wallets and exchanges facilitate that.
Yeah, it's also an interesting point because we building an open finance internet and everything, and some people want to have a privacy. Some people think that if they storing assets on the blockchain, they're already anonymous and nobody can find them. But unfortunately, it's not. And if you iterate in with Tornado Cash, for example, you will never receive your assets in legal way because I mean, most of exchanges already do not accept payments from wallets which interacted with Tornado Cash in
Yeah,
some way. Yeah, and and exchanges usually are your gateway to banking. Yeah, so unfortunately, yeah, so it's like it's not cool because if you want to have some privacy for your wallets, you can spend these assets legally
yeah.
usually,
But
unfortunately.
there's a caveat here. I'm certain. First of all, I know firsthand because I've spoken to quite a few builders that are building such solutions. I think that at the end of the day, there's going to be some sort of a compromise between the two worlds. So you're going to have systems that are compliant, but with some form of anonymity. And now with the new technology that's kicking in, the zero knowledge proof and so on, there's actually a way to do that, right? So you can
Yeah,
say you can create some sort of an on-chain ID that says, "Listen, I live in this country. I'm clean in terms of interacting with bad actors. I'm doing my taxation through XYZ." And then it will become much easier because once you have this ID with all the parameters, then the systems will be able to mitigate all this by themselves. And I'm sure that this is the future, and it's coming. It's the next big thing, because I have to tell you, I also recently wrote about it on LinkedIn. I see the crypto economy and the open finance, as you described it, becoming much more streamlined. You're having so many things that when you bundle them together, you see that there's a pattern, there's a bigger picture. So you have the stable coins that are much more proliferated right now,
yeah,
and you have the compliant on ramp off ramp solutions, and you have the bridges that are becoming more sophisticated, less dangerous, and more kind of more spread out across different chains. And at the end of the day, money can run through, start at one place, finish at another place. What is missing and what is needed to make sure that this whole value chain is being compliant and vetted in the right way, and I'm sure that we're gonna get there very soon.
yeah, definitely. I really like zero knowledge proof approach because I was talking with some guys who work directly with regulations in terms of QIC and all that stuff, and they mentioned it really good point that basically when some platform asking you for QIC, it doesn't mean that they want to have your ID or something. They just want to be sure that you, for example, is not a citizen of United States, and this is more
Mhm.
than enough. And with zero knowledge proof, it's possible. Like you can just upload it, and you don't need to show your first name, second name, ID or something. You just need to prove that you are not a U.S. Citizen, and that's it.
Yeah,
so.
sure.
Uh, so yeah, hoping for the best. Yeah, waiting the better future of regulation.
Yeah,
uh,
definitely. Also, there are new types of NFTs kicking in right now. that are going to be able to be non-transferable. And when you combine this with the zero knowledge proof, at the end of the day, you can have some sort of an on-chain identity that will give out, as I said earlier, some information, and will blank out another part that you don't want to be visible. And I think that that's a much healthier approach to the Wild West that we have now, or to the kind of dictatorship, we know everything about you, that we have with the governments. So it's a very healthy balance between the two.
Yeah, but I already see the new service on the black market, like selling on-chain ID and or stealing your on-chain NFT to just to use your services legally. But it's already possible. I've seen a lot of cases. Have you heard about WorldCoin project?
Sure, sure.
I mean that that biggest coverage of digital identities they got in uh, Asia, Africa, and of course they got really good coverage in some Europe countries. But for example, Portugal got like a lot, but still. And the point was that people just sell those identities,
Yeah,
like I
yeah.
passed it for $5 and here free to use to take it.
I have to tell you, I was at a conference, I think like 6 months ago, and I saw the. I don't see it as much right now because maybe the hype has kind of passed, but I saw this huge camera that they have that you probably saw on the
Yeah,
news,
Eye
and
of Sauron.
yeah, yeah. And it was, people were lining up, and I'm talking about like huge, crypto conferences with people who are very minded to privacy, to, keeping their funds safe and so on. They were lining up for them to scan their eyes. So, it's, I guess that, this awareness, if a brand is big enough, all this awareness and all this, being cautious and all that, it just wanes away, and you just dive in and say, yeah, I want this because it's the hottest thing. So it goes back to being minded of the dangers that this world has to offer. We were talking about funds, but also with respect to deeping to decentralized personal identity, that is also something that people have to be minded about in terms of hacks and scams and stealing your identity. I guess that's we're gonna have a lot to talk about, and Cyvers is gonna have a lot of work to do with that as well.
Yeah. By the way, I just remembered one very specific case with I don't know. Okay. Next question. Do Cyvers have you have monitors and chain monitors, and is it possible to detect address poisoning attacks? Just I'm asking because we had a discussion also previously, and it's so stupid kind of attacks, but people still losing a lot of assets for that. I read the article, not
Hmm.
very old, like maybe several weeks ago. Like one dude lost 68 million
Yeah,
just because of address poisoning attack. Who is still copy and pasting addresses from blockchain?
you would be
I don't know.
surprised. You would be surprised. If you read the article, and I'm saying this humbly, but if you read the article, you probably saw that we were the ones that uncovered it. Uh, it was about a month and a half ago,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
it was the biggest address poisoning attack
yeah.
in history. So for your viewers and listeners who are not familiar with the term, address poisoning attacks is basically, to put it in simple terms, it's a way for scammers to trick you to send the money to the wrong address. Now, the way they do it, it's kind of a very sophisticated way. They first of all have to see that your wallet is worthwhile. Okay, so don't worry. I guess, right? The smaller wallets are not the usual target of those scammers. They usually track, the whales and the bigger wallets, and also the non-hodlers, right? So they want to see some activity, some movement in the wallet
Yeah.
because you're supposed to send the money. So if you are a big wallet holding, a big amount of crypto, and if you're sending it frequently, let's say you're working with vendors or you're paying salaries, things of that sort, then you might be a good target. So what they do then is they poison the wallet. The way they do it is that they usually send either fake tokens or they send real tokens in small amounts, trying to basically poison
Yeah.
your transaction history, so that one day when you're sending the money to some again to some vendor or some other third party person, you are going to send it to them. And usually, again, if it's a big wallet and you're sending big amounts of money, that can be very lucrative, right? So in that specific case, $68 million were sent in WBTC in one single transaction, right?
Yeah.
So and a very unfortunate person lost it. And when we saw it, I gotta tell you, kind of behind the scenes at our SOC, at our war room, they went crazy. They couldn't believe it at first because we saw address poisoning attacks, but that amount in one single transaction, that was mind-boggling. So yeah, so that's
And the wallet,
definitely
yeah, to be honest, the wallet was pretty similar. They just changed it like several bits in the middle. So the, if if you are listening us and you just checking the first four digits numbers in your wallet and last four, it's not enough. People can change address. Poisoners can change only 2 bits in your wallet address, and that's more than enough to
for
to
sure, for
poison
sure.
you.
And let's put it this way: the best hacks and scams are the ones that are relying on your typical psychological behavior, right?
Yeah.
There's this like meme going on that you can write words and change specific letters in the middle, and you can still read them perfectly because that's the way our mind is programmed. So when you see a wallet address that is familiar to you, you see the beginning and the end, and you usually don't see something in the middle. So my advice to you would be definitely, as a just a basic user, always to check, not to copy paste blindly, but obviously for the more sophisticated users and for some of the clients of our clients, they will have these solutions built in. So we can actually tell if a specific wallet was poisoned, and we can notify them, or we can notify them at the stage when they want to send the money to a wallet that poisoned them. So there are solutions for that. So for sure we you can mitigate that, either technologically or just by exercising some healthy behavior.
Yeah, that's why I really like ENS project. Do you know that those guys who give you a domain names for your wallets? Of course, they can be poisoned as well. It's not a big issue, but it make the address poisoning much harder to execute. But yeah, unfortunately this kind of attacks still happening. And uh, I don't know, like you can't protect people from themselves, you can only you can highlight something or give them an alert or
That's why I think that the best protection is the one that you don't know of, right? That's why we're
yeah.
working with the big providers of, again, wallets, exchanges, and so on, custodians, and then in those one to many platforms, you can actually help much more people, and without even having them opting in, or at least having them opting in at a very early stage, and then they're covered throughout the whole runtime of their activity.
Yeah, definitely. They as they don't need even know about some kind of protection on the back end, and it will be more than enough. I believe that we will have a mass adoption when people will use application even without knowing that they are working on a with a blockchain somehow. No,
For sure.
so yeah, we touched a bit the future of security and blockchain itself. What do you think about future trends, where we are going right now, and what do you think will be needed on the market in next several years? We still have lack of some technologies, but what is your point on that?
I think that first of all, the institutional money that is pouring into crypto will need to have an institutional grade security. So we read in the news about the crypto ETFs, the Bitcoin ETFs. Now we're gonna have an Ethereum ETF. Who knows what we're gonna have next, right? We're looking at the
Dogecoin ETF.
yeah, exactly. We're looking at the US, but actually, other jurisdictions are more progressed than that, and you already have ETFs for other tokens as well. I'm sure it's going to kick in the US as well. So you see a lot of institutional money pouring in, but you have to remember, just like the retail users, that if you disappoint them once with respect to security and hacks, scams, and so on, they are not going to come back. Same thing with institutionals, and 10 times more, because they expect to have a certain level of security. So right now, I think it's crucial for the industry to show that it's mature enough, to show that the infrastructure is good enough, and that's definitely super important. But also, I think that eventually this institutional grade security will have to trickle down to the masses. And usually the big solutions that are starting for the big corporates, eventually they're becoming cheaper and more proliferated, and they will also trickle down to the smallest users when they have their own like crypto banks and self custody wallets, partial self custody, NPCs, whatever. At the end of the day, everything will be covered. And at the pace that I'm seeing things moving right now, I think that we'll get there very soon. You mentioned earlier the beginning of the internet, right? So
Yeah.
I'm old enough to remember there's a like I'm oftentimes are giving lectures, and usually the first thing that I start with when I'm talking with non-crypto people, I show them this video of Bill Gates at the Letterman show. I don't know if you know this video, but he's sitting um, at the Letterman show, and Letterman is teasing him about, what is that internet of yours? Like, what can you do there? And he's saying, okay, so you can watch a baseball game. So he says, does TV ring a bell? So it says, yeah, you can send emails to your friends. So he says that there's a mail, like a regular mail, ring a bell. So he's teasing him. And fast forward after 3 years, me personally, I already had email, and we were using websites and so on. So I think that the pace of mass adoption and the pace of security that will follow that, and those two are closely combined, it will be much much faster than we think. We're talking about not decades, we're talking about years until we get to the point where the internet, where the blockchain is going to be much safer. But it's not to be taken for granted, right? It's thanks to many, many companies and solutions that are working on the technological side of things.
Yeah.
But it also thanks to the companies that are, the providers that will implement those technologies. So I'm very, positive and very optimistic about the future with that respect.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the we are currently we are growing really fast. I mean, like, who can imagine that AI will be so involved in our life just 3 years ago? Before the OpenGPT 3 released. So. And now it's everywhere. Now, if you have an application without AI, you're already losing your market share.
I
So
just I just gotta say that our entire system is built on AI. I didn't really explain how we do what we do, but just in two words, the entire system is built on AI. We basically track several blockchains 24/7, block by block, and we're looking for anomalies. And whenever we spot an anomaly, it goes through one of our AI engines that was pre-trained through thousands and thousands of hacks.
Mhm.
And it keeps learning the typical
Yeah,
behavior of the hackers. And then you can immediately spot if this smallest hint of one transaction going from one place to another, if it means that there's a cascading effect of an actual hack taking place.
yeah, there is
So
a possibility. Yeah, I see.
we utilized AI, much before it was cool. Before GPT, has emerged. Actually, we have a PhD. Our chief engineer has a PhD in AI, and he built
Mhm.
several models. So we're very AI oriented, and even for us, specifically for Cyvers, AI is the future. The development
Yeah,
of AI is also the development of better security services and solutions.
yeah, and I like to say that it's not even a future; it's already here. Like it's end game. It's already here, and we will never live in life without AI. So,
Exactly.
so yeah, what I want to mention that the time is a really tricky thing. Now people may tell like, okay, we don't have mass adoption, and maybe we will need more 10 years more to get it. But to be honest, it may happen just in one day,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
and that's it.
With so much money involved, it's gonna happen very soon.
Yeah, yeah. We'll see the launch of Ethereum ETF. We are recording it on 1st July, and it is a date, the first date, which should be a date of Ethereum ETF launch, but they rescheduled it for teens. And
Hmm.
maybe when this podcast will be live, we already will have it. So
Yeah,
we'll see. Hope for the best. Hope for the best.
for
Okay.
sure.
Uh, Okay, let's move to another topic which I want to discuss with you. Uh, uh, you had an experience of mentoring, had advisory experience of for startups. Uh, could you share some insights from that activity, like advices to people who want to start their career in or build new products, new projects, or something?
Yeah. So I think that first of all, what I've learned after working with quite a few founders is that the first and the most important thing that you have to have to become a founder and to become an entrepreneur is unreasonable optimism, right? You need to be always optimistic from the get go, because when you only start, you need to have this optimism that your crazy plan would work out, that the technology would be there, that the market fit will be there. And then as you progress and you start building, you start hiring people, nothing goes well, right? That's usually the case with startups. The market changes, your employees disappoint you, your investors disappoint you. And I've seen it with a bunch of projects that I've worked at or advised to. But eventually, if you have this kind of compass that tells you that's where I have to go, that's my goal, and I'm going to get there eventually, you are going to get there. Maybe you'll have to take a detour, maybe you'll have to pivot, change something, you'll get there eventually. Um, Also, I think that this space, the Web3 space, it's a startup within a startup, right? So it's you're building something innovative in an industry that is innovative by design, right? So
Yeah.
it's not like, let's say I used to work with some fintech companies as well. So when you're in fintech, you have the financial system that is already kind of set up, and you have the regulations, and you have the legacy technology, and so on. And then you're building like a solution for a small sliver that has not been addressed yet, and
Yeah.
everything else stays in place. Whereas here, you're building something, and the entire scene is moving forward, right? So
Yeah.
something that you're building might not be relevant anymore, and the market has moved, or you have big competition coming up. So it's a crazy space, but again, it can be also very rewarding. If you succeed big time.
Yeah, definitely. In product terms, it calls, if I'm not wrong, it calls blue ocean. It's
Yeah,
like never explored ocean with tons of opportunities, but you never know where you will get.
for
Like,
sure,
yeah, you can move in any direction. So
for
yeah,
sure,
so the main advice is to be optimistic. Yeah, thank you
for
for your
sure.
answer. uh, I believe that we are out of questions already. So, do you have any final thoughts for our listeners today?
Yeah, so my kind of message to you is, first of all, Alex, and I really liked what you said, how people become attentive and aware of security and compliance, and all the malicious activity that is going on in Web3, only when they bite the dust, right? Only when something bad happens to
Yeah,
them. So I think that the industry has matured, and the users and the traders, even the degens have matured, right? So I think that people have to be aware of that. People have to be attentive of how they manage their money in their day-to-day conduct, and also in the way they select the providers that they interact with. When you select a wallet, you should look beyond the cool UI and I don't know, the notifications that you're getting to your Telegram or whatever. You should also kind of look under the hood and try to figure out what's the security infrastructure that this wallet has. Same thing with the exchange, and same thing with every other service that you're using. So I think that if it will start from the grassroots level and people are more aware of that, it will eventually push the companies and the projects to be more aware of that, and more more cautious in the way that they manage your money. So
yeah.
that's something that should be a mutual effort, and eventually, as I said, hopefully this space will become safer and thus more attractive to the retail users and the institutional users as one.
This is the only way. This is the only way.
For sure.
Uh, and okay, thanks a lot for your answers. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for all listeners who finished that listening us uh, till the end. It was a Hagen Proof podcast with Michael Pearl, and see you in next episodes. Bye.
Thank you so much, Alex. Bye bye.
Thank you.